Hey, and a very warm welcome to the Into the LightWeb podcast with me, your hostess, Joanna Hunter, metaphysical teacher, spiritual life and business coach, published author, and the high priestess of the LightWeb, a spiritual technology that will change your life. This is the place to be to talk everything under the LightWeb, from consciousness, relationships, to money, to spiritual business, and everything in between. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Into the LightWeb podcast with me, your hostess, Joanna Hunter. And today I am joined with one of our client stories, and I have got my beautiful client, Sally, with us, and she is just going to introduce herself in a moment. So, Sally, welcome so much to the studio. Come and introduce yourself. Tell people what it is that you do.
Good morning, Joanna. How are you? I'm delighted to be here. It's an honour to be on a podcast with you. I've listened to so many of them. I'm Sally. I'm a crofter in Keith in Caithness. For people who don't know what a crofter is, it's a small farmer found only in the highlands of Scotland. We are a unique breed. There's not many of us around. Traditionally, crofting is you have beef and sheep or farming and a secondary income, mainly oil or fishing years ago. Mine is now online through the support and help from Joanna, and I've grown my business amazingly since I've been in your world. It's given me the confidence and the know-how to do it.
Amazing,
And the
amazing.
drive to do it as well.
So, believe it or not, I've actually got a couple of farmers in my world. You won't always associate farmers with a spiritual business, but I think working so close to the land, there is a spiritual element to farming, and I think what you're trying to do is create that sustainable farming and keeping crofting alive in Scotland. Tell us a little bit about that, Sally.
Farming and crofting, at its essence, it's seasonal. It's with the earth. You have to get the best of your farm. The place where you start is in the soil, which is in the earth. Things grow from it. If it's not looked after, it's not going to grow. And it's the same, I think it's the same with your business and with yourself. Or certainly what I've found over the years, if I don't look after myself, I can't let anything grow. I can't blossom. I can't get going. I think there is definitely a spiritual element in it. There's a lot of hopes and prayers in farming when things go wrong. I hope this weather gets better, man. I pray for some good weather or rain to stop, but it's also, we're dealing with life and death daily. It's part of it, maybe hopefully not death daily, but it is part of farming. And I think we are more in touch with the seasons. We are more in touch with nature. We are more in touch with the earth. And having a spiritual element isn't a big step from that. Even if the farmer, I'm a big, strong farmer, and I don't believe in that. We do kind of, there's a lot of us that do.
Yeah.
Sustainability, farming, I follow regenerative agriculture, which is about growing the soil rather than sustaining it. Sustaining is staying the same. So regenerative is growing it and making it bigger and get bigger, and feeding back in what you're taking out, you're feeding back in and more, which is like business as well. You don't want to just sustain a business. You want it to grow. You want it to blossom and get bigger and bigger. But we do need that secondary income. A small croft with the best will in the world, you ain't going to make a living off it.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about before you came into my world, what crofting was like for you. Because I know that money was a bit of an issue when you first joined my world. So
definitely.
paint us a bit of a picture of what that looked like.
So I took this croft over from my mum and dad when I was 24, so 20 years ago, just past April. Young for a crofter, young for a farmer to take over. I know friends my age, in their mid-40s who are still waiting to take over the reins now. I dotted around the world having fun. Mum was still fit. She fed my cows and sheep in the winter, and I went off and rolled wool and worked in orchards and generally had quite a good time. And was still farming at home. It was my business. The decisions were mine, but mum said, I'm here, I'm still fit, I'll support you, which was amazing that she did that and let me have that opportunity. I was lucky enough to be on the Scottish sheep shearing team. I was one of the wool handlers. Went to New Zealand for it. I came, I think it was 15th in the world. I was an international athlete, would you believe? Not that you look at it now. And I came home via Australia to see friends and I picked up a bug and I got sick. And that was in 2012. And I couldn't work for basically 3 years. I did nothing at all until I found some private treatment and got better. So not being able to work on a secondary income, had to cut my animal numbers down to support me to pay for my medical treatment as well. I was broke and I was in managed debt. I wouldn't say broke, I was in managed debt. I was looking after it. It was maintained. It wasn't growing. It was got for a reason. I'm a big believer in saying that debt's not always a bad thing. Borrowings, if it's done well, it's not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad
You know,
thing at all. It
it's
can
and it's
actually be abundance that you
yeah,
have access to, and especially if it's done well.
yeah, that's it. And it was, I think, the first million round of the first $1 million that I got into your world. It was coming up to Christmas. My friend Donna shared your post on, like, I think it was even New Year's Eve. I joined
Hmm.
and I read it and I thought, no. And then I did my usual, it's a fuck it moment. I have quite a few of those. And I went, right, I'm signing up. And do you know what? It was a lifesaver. I would definitely say my mindset had been changing. I'd been looking at abundance. I'd been looking at manifestation. I'd been dabbling around edges. Sarah Prout, the Australian um,
Yeah.
manifest, I followed her for a while. I still do. I love what she's done as well. Um, I'd read various books. I read The Secret. We'd read all these different books. I'd gone through a phase of reading Dalai Lama, um, Archbishop of Canterbury, one of his books.
Hmm.
I'd read loads of different stuff like that. And then I found $1 million year, which was great because I've been described as being incredibly pragmatic. And I actually had to go and look that up because I wasn't 100. I knew it was a compliment, but I was like, do you know what? I know what that word means, but I'm just going to double check. And it's right, simple, find a solution,
Boots
get
on
on
the
with it.
ground. That's
Yeah,
how I like my spirituality.
yeah,
That's how I like my all the things. I like it boots on the ground.
yeah.
I've never been an airy fairy kind of person. I deal with airy fairy stuff,
Yeah,
but I've always looked for a way to anchor that into real world
yeah.
application.
And I
So
think I think that's why your world resonates so much with me because
yeah.
you've got that right. Let's do the inner work. You have to work on yourself before anything's going to work,
Hmm.
which is sensible. Because if you've got a mindset sitting there that goes, "Oh, I can't do this," poor me, all that,
Yeah.
you're never going to get anywhere with that attitude. You have to, or not attitude, with that thought. You
But it
have
is an
to,
attitude as well, right? It's an
yeah,
attitude and
it
a
is.
thought.
It is,
And
yeah,
how are you going to build something great on top of that? It's
exactly.
just you can see if you were building a building, your foundations were crumbling before you put the walls up.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. And you do that work and then you've got that, right, now do this. Now do this. This is how you do, certainly in divine planning, this is where you start. This is how you build this. This is a course that tells you how to do a passive income. This is a course that tells you to make a plan, how to make a plan for a year, simple things that when you actually sit and go, yeah, why didn't I think of doing that anyway? That's what I love about it. It's you've got the inner work, but you've got the basics and the practical stuff there as well, which definitely resonates with me.
So from Million Dollar,
Hmm.
that gave you the idea I'm in the right place. This is a
Definitely.
person for me. This is a person to learn from.
Yeah.
And then you move from Million Dollar and you make a leap and you go into Divine Planning Abundant Profits, which
Yeah.
is one of our high-end courses,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I would imagine for you at that time, that was a huge investment.
Very,
How
very
did you feel
much.
making that investment?
I had seen, I think it was because it's been about 18 months, it would be like April no, February last year. So it's not even, it's just over a year I've been in Depop.
Yeah.
So the first round of $1 million was what, 2021. So it was a couple of
Yeah.
years in the middle, you know. And I'd followed you online and I'd seen all you were doing and I'd read, I think twice, I'd maybe seen maybe even 3 times of the sign up for when Depop opened. And I was like, oh, it's really good. And I'd looked at it and gone, no way, can't do that one. And then I was like, do you know what? I've got this idea for a course because I'd seen what you were doing online. I'd been on your online and I thought I could do that. And a lot of people I'd had the first course I started with, and it was like going to be an hour long, and that was going to be it. And I'd be lucky if I got 20 people in a year to do it. You know, that was my thought at the time. And it's because I sell beef and lamb boxes, and I have done for about 13 years now. But I had to teach myself the regulations, on where you got the boxes, how you did it, what cuts, everything I had to learn from the bottom up. And it was a lot of work to find that on the internet 13 years ago was a lot of trawling. It's not easily found. It's government regulations are, yeah, mind blowing. They're there. If you need to sleep, go read them. You know, they're not written in easy speak. And a lot of people asked me, how do you do it? How do you set up? And I was like, and it became more and more and more people were asking. And I thought, you know what, I could teach people how to do this. And I was thinking it'll be a little 35 quid course. And then I was like, right, I've done one. What do I do now? And I'd maybe done a couple of trial groups and I'd done a couple and I'd built a little bit more. And it's like, okay, I can do this. Then I was like, well, do you know what? I've got an idea for an emergency planner, a farm planner. And I'm like, do you know what? I need help. I'm not, farming's my thing. I can do it. No worries. You want to know what's wrong with, you want to know how to lamb a yow or calve a coo or what to do paperwork. I can do that. No problem. How do you build a course online? How do you get
all that stuff.
anything? I did not know. And it just happened. Depop popped up. And I was like, I was reading through it. And I was like, nah, I can't do that. I can't justify it just now. And then I was like, do you know what? I can't not justify it. That was my change. It's an investment in me. And I think I'd heard, can't even remember who it was talking, another online person, off the top of my head, my memory's shot for names. I'm getting that middle age thing, And I speaking to somebody and they said, when you do courses, it's not an investment in the course, it's an investment in you, and it's an investment in your future. And I'm like, well, I've got because I've got a little boy, William, he's 4.5, but he would have been like 2.5 at the time, 3.5 at the time. And it's like, right, well, I was on benefits, I was on working tax credit, I was on child credit as well, child tax credit as well, as a lot of farmers are, because we don't make enough, even though we're working however many hours a day. And I looked at it and it got to like, I think it would have been midnight one night. I was up, William hadn't slept, he wasn't a good sleeper, so I did a lot of stuff in the middle of the night. And I had another fuck it moment. It was just like, do you know what? Credit card it, I'll deal with it. I'll pay it each, long as I make enough each month to pay that monthly payment. So I'm not getting interest on it. Cool, I can do it. And as long as I do that monthly payment, that's all I need to do in the first year. I don't need to do any more than that. Yeah, I blew that out of the water. Blew that out of the water. I'm off benefits.
So this is a year down the line now. So it was a year in February, right?
Yeah.
So we're just at the time of recording this, we are a year and a bit down the line.
14 months, maybe.
You're now off benefits.
Yep. 11.
You had your first 5K month.
I had actually think it ended up being 15K that month.
A 15K month.
15K month. 1 month.
When we made our investment back.
Yeah.
It's been incredible, right?
Yeah. The thing I think that struck me the most is recently I have had comments from other farmers and from friends saying, wow, what a difference on your online presence, your online business. You're going for it. You've got so many ideas coming out. You're really going for it. I've got a website now, which terrified me for months, trying to get a website. And I remember I asked in the group, I was like, what do I do here? I don't know what to do. Do I go with Thrive Themes? Do I go with this? What do I need? How do I do this? How do I do that? And I think it was you said, turn around and went, do you know what? Just go simple. I says, like, I'm looking at Shopify and I just don't know. It's simple. It's basic. It's got me up and running. It's got me a presence. And I'm sure one of your comments were, it'll get you started, done, not perfect. Get out
Yeah,
there,
done
get
is better
going.
than perfect.
Yeah,
Get going.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
it is, and it's putting that best foot forward.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite sayings is you can't edit a blank page. So getting something on that page, getting something out there, a simple website. It might not be the all singing, all dancing website that you aspire to from day one, but it's out there, and a website is better than no website,
Exactly. That's it. Exactly.
you
I mean,
know?
I think I've had it since August last year. And I'm sort of looking at, it's time to start looking up to some after summer holidays. You know, I'm very strict about my time. I've got very strong boundaries, which came from when I was ill. I had to pace because chronic Q fever illness I have, it's still there, but it's managed just by pacing. It's very similar to ME. So you have payback, you have things like that. So you really have to manage your time. And being ill taught me that, so that I do look on being
Yeah.
ill as
I
a,
got the same lesson being ill. Like, I am so protective of my energy, and I really, really weigh up, do I really want to be part of this? You know, if
yeah,
I'm being offered things.
mhm.
And I think it's the gift of illness in a
Yeah,
way. I
it
know
is.
that
Yeah,
it's at the time when you're going through it and you're waist deep in it, it feels anything but a
yeah,
gift, but there is gifts inside illness. And
definitely.
I definitely like who I am now better because
Mhm,
I think although I had chronic illness, I had a chronic pattern before the illness. For me, it was chronic people pleasing,
mhm. Oh, 100%. I agree with you. Yeah, and overworking, and yeah, I'll do that.
overworking, people
Yeah,
pleasing, overgiving.
yeah,
These were my chronic patterns
yeah,
before chronic illness even chapped on
yeah,
my door.
definitely.
And it was obvious that that's where the route, now to me, it's obvious that that was the route it
Yeah,
was going to take. And I'm so grateful that I got to see those patterns for what they were and was able to get to a place where I could release them.
yeah. I think if I hadn't, I mean, I was working the croft, but I was doing contract lambings. I was rolling wool in the summer. I was working in pubs. I was working in kitchens. I was working in restaurants. So you'd be working during the day. I remember one summer, I had like four part-time jobs going as well as the croft. And I turned up to one job and they're like, you're not scheduled today. And I'm like, where am I meant to be? Because I'm meant to be somewhere. And I literally had no idea where I was meant to be that day. It could have been, and it was dotted all over Caithness, so I couldn't have sustained that for much longer. I was in my 20s then, you have got a bit more energy then, right enough,
But
but
still, like it
it
is,
wasn't sustainable.
and it was, and that's to keep that farm going and to
Yeah.
keep, and to keep all of that. And now you're in DPAP. You've
Hmm.
got an online presence that's growing and growing.
Yeah, definitely.
Your business is
Thriving.
massively growing. We've
Hmm.
got something so exciting, but we're not allowed to
I
talk about
know,
it
I
yet.
can't talk about that one
We have to
yet. I
keep it
know.
sipped, but we will
Yep.
tell you, keep
Yeah, yeah.
watching
Yeah,
Sally's face because honestly, you're gonna die when you see
it's
what is
huge.
coming. Um, but we're literally not allowed to talk about
Oh.
it, and it's so exciting. Um, but tell us, you did Divine Planning Abundant Profits, things started rolling.
Mhm.
You continued to invest in yourself. So you
Yeah.
came to my Goddesses in Business Day.
Dead.
Um, that was a catalyst for you as well.
Yes, that was a huge one. And that was another good moment. It was a case of, yeah, I know what, I'm tired. It's been a long summer. I've got a 3.5-year-old who does not sleep, and ever he did not sleep at all at that point. And I'm a single mum by choice. There is no father involved. I manifest This biggest manifestation I've done is my son. It's a huge one. Um, he is a huge one, not it. Sorry, he's a he. I shouldn't call him it. He is at times feral little it at times, but anyway, he's a farm kid. And I was like, I'm just starting. Last summer, I had my first night away without William. My dad babysat for him. My parents are older. We had my mum at home as well, who has dementia. She's now in a care home. So there was a lot going on. So fair enough. And I was quite happy to be at home with William. I had him so I can enjoy him. He's my first priority in everything. I work around him. I don't work in evenings. There's a lot of boundaries I have that I don't work. But last summer I was like, do you know what? I need to start getting out a bit and doing stuff that I would enjoy. So when it came up for your retreat, I was like, oh, Pixies. couldn't manage both days because Dad wasn't able to babysit because Mum was still at home at that point. Oh no, Mum was in hospital. Can't remember. Anyway, he wasn't keen to babysit that night, which is fair enough. He's 80. It's not his son. That's fair
It's
enough.
absolutely, and it's
Yeah.
a little boy that's full of beans. It is
Oh,
full on,
yes.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
But we came that one day, and you did something really
Oh,
wacky when you came home, which was
yeah. The big
to
thing.
apply for something.
Yeah, my big thing. And I went home and it popped up and I was like, nah, fuck it. Did it again and went through all the rounds and everything. And yeah, it's happening. And
This is
it's
amazing.
big. And I wouldn't have done that. I don't think
Yeah,
I
we
would have been
can't
in the
wait to
mindspace.
announce this because it's so exciting. Like
It's
I've had a ringside seat to how this has all unfolded.
and it's
And knowing where Sally sort of started her journey, I could not be prouder and happier for her.
I don't
But
think I would have done it without being in your world. I don't think I would have had the confidence for a start. And I just don't think I would have done it. I don't think there's any way I would have done it at all. And I think the day we had the people that were on the course, Pauline, I still speak to Pauline quite regularly. She's lovely,
yeah, she's
Pauline.
lovely, isn't she?
Everybody that was on the course
Like
that day
I
was
know,
just
I
beautiful. The whole
so
day
glad.
was just lovely. It was just what I needed. And I can't put my finger on what part of it was what I needed, but yeah, all of it was just
Just
what
healing.
I needed. Yeah, it was very healing and very soothing, I think, as well, but also energizing. I find I listen to your podcast. I don't always get on the live in Deepak because farms, kids,
Hmm.
life. But I do listen to the replays quite often. I'll do it if I'm do my egg delivery around because there's nobody with me, or I'll do it when I'm driving in a town or driving somewhere. I'll have it going. So I now have a car notebook because when I listen to your podcasts, the LightWeb, whatever I listen to, there's always one thing in each one, more than one most, but there's always one thing that pops out and I go, oh, yes. So I've got a car notebook now so that when I stop in a supermarket car park and I've turned it off and I'm like, write this all down.
Oh,
Notebooks everywhere. So it's,
amazing.
and in the $1 Million Year, in the first year when you did the podcast each month with a different guest each month, I religiously listened to them. William was a baby at the time, so he'd nap and I'd put it on. And it was great. And I got something from everybody that was in those
I know those
podcasts.
interviews were gold, and like you can still listen to those
Yeah,
interviews
yeah.
on the podcast,
I
which
drop I drop in and out quite
so yeah,
often. I'll pick up and
exactly. I
down.
mean, there were so many liquid gold moments in that
Totally.
podcast. They
Totally.
really,
Yeah.
those
The,
interviews were epic. And I
yeah.
mean, yeah, that's a tough gig to interview millionaires like every week for a whole year.
But,
No, it wasn't
surround
at all. It
yourself by
was
what you want to be.
brilliant. I loved every minute. I was
Yeah.
pumping them for
Oh,
every tidbit of
yeah.
information I could get because I was learning that year to calibrate to my $1 Million
Yeah.
Year. And it was so valuable
Yeah.
speaking to all of those. And I think when I spoke to those people, no disrespect to any of them, but the realization that I had was that these guys are no smarter than me. Um,
Exactly. They're
and
normal people,
you know exactly, they're very normal. A lot of them are very down to earth, really genuinely lovely
Yeah.
humans. And I was like struck with like it really gave me that self-belief. I could do this. Like
Yeah.
I could have a
Definitely. Yeah.
7-figure year. I know that you entered the $1 Million Year thinking, no way, Jose. On
Hmm.
the Goddesses in Business retreat that you came to, you told me that has changed for you. Like that's been a massive thing that's
Yeah.
changed for you. Your belief in yourself, the fact that you're like, yeah, I could do this. Like it's a matter of time. Tell us
100%.
a
I'm
little bit
having a
about
million
that
dollar year.
transition of going from no way could I ever be a millionaire to like, actually, you know what? I think I could.
Yeah. Well, in farming, I'm a crofter, poor farmers. We all have it. It is a tough gig. It is not a big gig. It is, unless you're a massive farm, you're not taking a huge income in, and it's ingrained, and it's a belief you're brought up with, and it's not even one person telling you that, oh, you're a poor farmer, but it's the
Society,
society. Yeah, but then
all
there's a
your
whole,
neighbors.
yeah, exactly. But then there's the other flip side that, oh, you're all rich farmers and you're just conning everybody. So you've got that sitting on your shoulders. It's there. Um, I'd already started with bits with manifesting, and I love doing manifestation things. I'd manifested a car. I decided, right, I want specific car. I'd done the make, model, the year, the mileage, the price, and the price was way below what it should have been. And I got it for less than the price I said, exactly how I wanted it.
We
And
love
I've now
that.
got a second one. I've done the second one as well now. Cars, walk in the park. I can manifest them coming out my ears now. Need a second one, um but I was like, right, I would love to do online. When I first started with $1 Million, I didn't have a website. I don't even think I had a Facebook group. I had my own page. I didn't have a Facebook page, a business page. I was already messing around with doing lamb boxes. I hadn't started doing beef boxes. I'd been doing little bits with wool.
Hmm.
But I was like, do you know, I've got the bones of something here that I could expand my business. And
Yeah.
what it did was it really made me the start of making me focus on money and on income. Because a lot of the time you're just looking at your profit. You're not actually looking at your income and your outgoing, and you're not looking at what you're taking in regularly. And it just kind of made me think, because farming's seasonal. You have your big lump sum in the back end, September, October. When lambs and calves sell, you get a dun of money. You maybe get a couple other bits throughout the year, but that money has to stretch the whole year. So I was used to getting big paydays, but then it all going straight back out on the bills that I hadn't paid for months. So the change, I think, was starting to look at money as I could figure ways of having it regularly, weekly, monthly.
Oh,
Um,
that's amazing.
and I didn't think I would do $1 million year in the first year. And I thought, if I could get to maybe to like 32,000 in that first year, I'd have been delighted. And I ended up pretty much doubling it. It was like 60,000 I got, 64,
Yeah.
I think it was,
Yeah.
income.
64, I think is what
And
you
it's
said. Yeah.
like $64,000 a year. It's like, well, I can do this. And it
Mhm.
was the steps. It was going, taking a pound, a dollar, double it, two. And it was the realization that there is only 20 steps between a pound and a million.
Yes.
A huge realization. And you
That's
only have to double it.
massive, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a big one. Um, and now, it's like intention setting. It's like setting goals for what you want each month. And it's working on your stories and stuff. I think working on my stories took a long time. I think I got to about month 5 or month 6. I got to summer, I think, doing it every week religiously. And then the stories were creeping back in, and I pulled back because I had to work on those stories. And I think I kind of stopped doing things. But then I picked it up again in October, November time, when
Hmm.
I'd had that sort of 3 months of mulling things over. I'll journal, but I'll journal one day on a question and I'll
Hmm.
write it all down. And then I kind of put it away. But I mull over things when I'm driving, when I'm mucking out, when I'm
Hmm.
doing things like that. It's there at the back of the
Processing. Yeah.
mind. It's a kind of passive way I go over it. And it needs time. I've discovered, I can't push things. I need time to let the aha moment come to me. And it always does, but I do, some people can sit and journal and journal and journal and journal and go, bing, there we go, that's it. I have to do it slowly and have that bit of time. And that's something I've learned certainly over since the $1 Million year. I do, but it's taken me time to learn that as well. It's something that's maybe only really become clear to me this spring as well. So,
Amazing. So now we've come off benefits.
mhm,
We have had 5K months, even 15K months.
mhm,
We have leveraged our online courses,
yep,
and you've created that emergency planner. It's been a
yep,
huge hit.
yeah, it's going really well.
It's been going really well. It's been out there doing its
Yeah.
rounds, and it's been really well received, which has been
Yeah, oh,
amazing as well.
it's
I think it's even been in like the farming magazines and
yeah,
things.
it was in the Press and Journal farming pages. It's been on a podcast, a farming podcast, Andy Fraser's one
Amazing.
as well. It's actually, sadly, it's been used by a friend. I lost a friend locally who died at one point, suddenly, young. She had one, thankfully, and she had filled it in. So sadly, it has been used. That's the bit that I want you. I say, I hope I'm giving it to you. I hope you never have to use it. It's something, I hope you fill it in and it goes away.
But it
But
is genius, right? Because
yeah,
I met a woman when I was out in Paris recently, and she was a farmer, and I was telling her about it. I said, I have a farmer in my community, and she has an emergency planner.
yeah,
And she went, oh my God.
yeah,
Like, I wouldn't even know when to water the plants
yeah,
that we are
that's it.
growing, the crops that we're growing.
Yeah,
Like,
that's it.
we need this. And
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah,
it's
this is
got
why you need an
everything.
emergency
Yeah,
planner.
it's
She's like,
actually,
I just leave my husband to do it all.
yeah,
Like, because I do other stuff and my husband does like the farm stuff.
yeah,
And honestly, I don't even know what he is doing half the time.
yeah,
But like, now that you've just said, like, who would know? I'm trying
yeah,
to even think in my world, who, like, if something was to ever happen, touch wood, who
yeah.
would do, who
Exactly.
would do
And
that? So,
the simple things like who's your vet account, who's your bank with, who's your overdraft, who's your loans with, who's your machinery bought through, it'll all be in the office somewhere. Most of it's in here, and one or two it's split between partners. Usually is
yeah.
one partner does one bit of it, one partner does the bookkeeping side of it. If something happened to both of them, outside, nobody's going to know. So it's got it all written
Mm.
in there. You put it away, you tell somebody. The most important thing with it is you tell somebody outside your immediate family where that booklet is, so that if something happens, and I always suggest, I mean, safety, obviously, because it contains passwords and things like that as well. I always say to people, go and get a fireproof file box, which we all should have in our house, that all your documents go in, your passports, your insurances, everything goes in. My William's health visitor, when he was a baby, her house burnt down, and I spoke to her about the farm planner afterwards, and she'd said, I wish I'd had a fireproof box because we lost everything. You can get them replaced, but you have to remember, and you're not
Yeah.
going to remember where everything is,
No,
so
you're
or
not.
who
You're
it's
not.
with. So that's why fireproof, that's my top tip of the day. Fireproof file box with everything in away, so that if the worst ever does happen, you're covered. You've got that covered.
It's such a smart idea. I love it. I love it. And and it's beautiful to see that it's such a big success. You've also been taking more time off for yourself. So you were
Yes.
off recently, but you've also booked a very special holiday. So tell
Yes.
us a little bit about that as well, because
Yeah.
these were things that you only dreamed of once upon a time, and now you're like literally living it.
I'm I want to travel. I've traveled. I've lived in Canada, New Zealand, Australia, England. I've visited America a lot when my uncle was there. I've traveled a lot. I haven't I've lived in places long-term travel. I haven't done lots of little traveling. And I haven't traveled Scotland, which is quite awful because we live here. There's so much beauty here. And now that I've got William, I'm very conscious that I want him to have a good childhood. I don't want him to be spoiled or anything like that, but I want to show him things. I want to show him the world and try to instill that love of travel in him. So we go to Aviemore. I mean, it's great for kids. Aviemore's fabulous for little kids because there's so
Amazing.
much to do. We go twice a year there. It works in, it's great. And this year I wanted to go over to Skye. I've never been. I have my sheepskins for the skins that come from the lamb boxes go over to Skye Skins to get tanned. Now they could post them home to me for like 20 quid or something like that. But this year I was like, no, I'm going to go. I'm going to go over and I'm going to go and visit them and I'm going to pick them up and I'm going to see a bit of Skye. So we had 2 nights in a vintage van down this. I actually thought it was somebody's back garden in Broadford. I hadn't quite worked it out, but it was down this 6 miles single track road, right on a little bay, rocky beach, a beautiful fire pit, everything. And we stood and threw rocks in the water for like a couple hours one day, and we had a
Oh,
fire pit one night. And William was sitting beside me and he's toasting a sausage or something, and he looks round and he goes, this is good, mummy. And I thought, how simple. That's all I want is for him to say this is good. So, but I've also gone, right, he's little, he'll be 5 at the end of this year. There's a whole magic of Santa. And I've seen friends going to Lapland. So I was like, right, let's do it. Let's book it. Let's get it sorted. So we're going in November next year, not this year, next year. So 2025. And I'm telling him about it. He knows about it. I'm not keeping it as a secret. because I think the excitement is part of it. I
Yeah.
want that to build in him as well. So he helped me plan our holiday as well. He helped me do the packing to Aviemore and for Aviemore and that. So I'm
Hmm.
trying to build all that into him, that the excitement is part of the journey. Getting there is as much a part of the
Of the
destination as
holiday,
well.
yeah.
So I can't wait, man.
Amazing.
Can't
And
wait.
what was it like booking that? Because I know that you came and shared that in the group with us
Yeah,
and just said that that was a real kind of dream being
yeah.
realized.
It was ace. I'd been looking at friends going on it, and it was Christmas, it was just after Christmas time, and I'd started following one, or I'd looked at varying different companies, but there was one that just stood out to me for booking it. And I started following them on Facebook, and it popped up. Type in, sign up for our 2025 availability. Okay, I can do that. Signed up for it. And about a week later, it's like 2025 availability is now out. And I was like, oh, okay, let's have a looky see. And I was like, yeah, it's amazing. And it was just like going through it. I'd pretty much planned it before I booked it. I had the package I wanted. We're staying in like a glass fronted hut, individual house. There's only 7 of them, away, sort of set away from the main village that it's in.
Yeah.
It's a holiday village. It is a holiday village, but these are set to side, and it's got the heated glass roof and window facing north, and it's just the tundra because it's up in the Arctic Circle. So
Yeah.
chances of northern lights, if they come, they might not happen because we know they don't always happen. But if they do, we're going to have a bedside view of them. It's just
Amazing.
amazing. And I've booked an afternoon with Sammy reindeer herders. Can't go that far and not see another farmer. I have to go and talk farming with locals. So that's a bit
Amazing.
for me. So yeah, I can't wait. I'm really excited about that.
Fantastic. What memories that you guys are going to make. And that's what it's all about, being able to make those
Yeah,
memories and things.
yeah,
You've
exactly.
also been inspiring a lot of other farmers as well. So let's kind of finish up on that. You've been asked to speak in different places and things like that
Yeah.
as well, which is amazing, right? Because as you said at the very beginning of this podcast, that farming is quite a hard industry. It's long hours, not a lot of pay for some people.
Mhm,
And being able to inspire the next generation of farmers
mhm,
and helping them to also leverage their farms in ways that can help bring more income and create the sustainable um regenerative farming that you
mhm,
practice, which I think is so important because
mhm.
there's lots of these industrial farms, but we're not all about that. We're
Mhm.
about that regenerative farming
Yeah,
that preserves the land and enriches the
yeah,
land. So tell us a little bit about all the kind of speaking opportunities and
yeah.
things that you've had.
Oh, it's been quite mad, and it's all since I came into Depop. It just
Mhm.
started tick, 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 tick since I grew my online stuff and started really putting myself out there. Firstly, I was asked to speak. There's a woman in Scotland, we have the Women in Agriculture Fund, and it's great. I'm a little on the fence about it because for me, in Scotland especially, there's always been women. Like 45%, I think it's 45 or 46% of crofts in the Highlands are owned by women. So we're nearly at
Amazing.
50-50. It's
That
crofting should,
that's fantastic,
yeah,
right?
it's traditionally been the husband's been away doing fishing, forestry, oil, what oil now, whatever, Dunry up here it is, and the wife's been at home to do the croft. Or at one point it was away whaling or whatever, or it was always that. And it was if the husband would be away earning and the wife would be at home doing it. So it's quite often that crofts, and it's not. I'm a second generation female crofter because my mum was a crofter. Dad was a merchant navy, he was away at sea, wasn't anything, he wasn't a farmer at all. He does do it now, he's getting there. He's 80 now, he's learning slowly. But so I am a bit on the fence about it because I don't think your gender matters as long as you can do the job well.
Yes.
But I also can see there are a lot of women who struggle being in a male orientated world. It doesn't put me up nor down. I always have been in it, but so I can see where it is a benefit. What they do is they offer huge, fantastic training, fantastic money for courses, for get-togethers. And I think that social side of it is important for
And
women
you've become
because,
one of their trainers, haven't you?
yeah, well,
Yeah, your
yeah,
courses have been done through them, which is
yeah,
amazing.
through Lantra, I got it fully funded, and it was fully funded. All I did one-to-ones. I had 10 one-to-ones with ladies who wished, and the Next Generation Farming Fund, there's also it as well. So I think there was 8 from the Women in Ag and 2 from the Next Generation Fund. And we had one-to-ones on my Box Clever course on how to set up and sell your own beef, lamb, or pork. And I've had feedback from 6 of them that are going to start this year. I think I've had about 150 farms throughout the UK, Ireland, Australia, and New Zealand now as well.
And
I've had
how many people did you think, like, if I could sell in a year
20.
20 of these courses?
I know.
Like,
Mind
it's
blowing.
amazing. Like, it
Uh,
is so amazing.
yeah,
And you're just going from strength to
I know.
strength.
Well, thinking on it this year, I did the Women in Ag talk locally, which was about diversification. I followed a friend who's done a farm shop, who's up to his neck. As he said himself, he'll only make money when he sells it. Another friend or lady I know who they've done pods, glamping pods, but they had income, they had investment from outside companies and not investment, they had grants and stuff they got and leader funding and stuff to do it because it's a big investment. And they talked about in the trials and how hard it is and to make this money and they've got to do this. And I stood up and went, I've had no money. I get my animals butchered and I sell them direct and it cost me the price of a box and I was in profit instantly. The other two were going on, we're going to be in profit in 5 years, 10 years, whatever. It's like I was in profit instantly. This is how you do it. It's easy, it's simple. I run by the 3 principles now. KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Work smarter, not harder. And you can't eat an elephant in one meal. You have to take it one bite at a time. That's a new one a client told me. You have to take it one bite at a time, which is very
Absolutely. Law of
slowly,
increments.
steadily. And then from that speech at the Women in Ag, I got asked to do FAS Online, which is a Farm Advisory Scotland. They came and recorded a online webinar. So it was about regenerative agriculture, a little bit about mental health as well, because obviously I'd struggled quite a bit when I was ill. And I'm quite open about my struggles with mental health through farming. And it's a common theme. It's sadly a very, very common theme in farming, mental health
I mean,
issues.
suicide rates in farmers
Yeah,
are quite
yeah.
high.
Aye.
It is very tragic.
Yeah,
Very,
there's
very
been
tragic.
a couple up here in the
And
last
just knowing
couple of
that you're
years.
part of that solution for
Yeah.
an industry that I think we have, an industry that we have gotten so wrong in a way, when we look at these giant
Oh,
supermarkets and
yeah.
this, the way that we treat the earth, the way that we treat animals, the way that, we do things. And it has gotten us, we have kind of in that industry gotten it wrong. And
Yeah.
then there's you that is supporting the people who are trying to do it right by it, which is amazing.
There's a
That's
definite
what
there's a
that's what
definite
makes me
movement.
so proud to support you,
Yeah.
because I know you go out there, as I always say to people, I support the leaders who are leaders, and you go out there and you're leading and showing other people that, your farm can be in profit.
Mhm.
You've got alternatives, you've got other ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And it's bringing that in and helping to creating more of that sustainable farming, which is
Mhm.
and not just sustainable, but regenerative
Yeah.
farming.
Yeah, that's it. There's a massive disconnect. You're dead right. There is a massive disconnect between farm producers and the food that people buy.
Yeah.
They are not connected anymore in many ways at all.
Yeah.
One thing that really cracked me up actually was my insurance company at the time. I'm not with them anymore. I went to insure my boxes for selling beef, and they're like, "Oh, right, we don't cover that as a diversification." And I'm like, "But it's not a diversification, really. I'm selling my product to the end consumer. I'm just cutting out the middleman. How is me selling my beef to the person that's going to eat it a
I've looked
diversification?"
after the animal. I've done all the
Yeah.
things,
So
right?
how is that a
But like
diversification?
somehow I'm not safe enough to sell it as a
Yeah,
raw product.
it's
Crazy.
the disconnect,
Crazy.
and it's industry wide. It's that, I mean, as farmers, what do? We produce food, clothing, shelter. That's what farmers, whether you're forestry, whether you're doing cotton, whether you're doing silk, we're an all encompassing. We produce food, clothing and shelter. And what's the three basic needs in the world? Well, add water in there as well. That's the four basic needs: food, water, shelter, and clothing. But yeah, we're so disconnected from that, that food comes in a packet with a list of ingredients. It's a hard one to get my head around, and I'm not going
Yeah.
to get my head
I
around it.
think that's an entire podcast on its
Oh,
own, to be honest.
it is. It's a
It
huge
really
one,
is.
that one.
It
It
really
is.
is.
Yeah, but it's so good to see that when I speak to people that take my course, the one thing that resonates all the time is the amount I go, it's actually quite clever. It's actually quite easy, and what the main thing they say is, you've given me the confidence to know I can do it.
Yes,
You
and
know,
that's beautiful.
that's
And
it.
it's all about empowering people,
Yeah,
and you are just, but those guys are going out and they're helping to improve the food chain,
yes.
right?
Bit by
Because their
bit by bit.
customers are getting something so much better than
Yeah,
what they could ever pick up in a supermarket, which
that's
is
it.
amazing, right?
It's little by little. It's not, I know a lot of people are out there, right, we'll change farming, we'll do this, we'll do that, but boots on the
But this
ground,
is the
doing it.
this is the boots on the ground grassroots
Exactly.
movement.
Yeah,
And I think, if we look at any big, giant change, it always starts at the
yeah,
grassroots.
exactly. And there's a lot of people around the world. There's varying different people doing things. I've got my heroes in the regen agri world that I follow, and I've done courses with them. I listen to their podcasts. I do everything. Or I try to do what works here. And that's one thing where I think regenerative agriculture and DPAP and Million Dollar actually really cross. There's 6 principles in regenerative agriculture, and one of the main ones is context. You do what's right for your farm.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you teach in DPAP? You do what's right for your business. At the basic of it, it's like, right, well, you don't do that because that would work for her, but that won't work for you. So
Yeah,
it's very similar. They tie in together really well. And to
beautiful.
start off with, I was like, I don't know how this is going to work for me, because I'm not really, I am spiritual, but I'm not massively spiritual. So, I was kind of like, because I think that was maybe why I passed over the first couple of times I saw DPAP advertised. I was like, I don't know if that's for me. I think I wasn't at the right place at that point. I hadn't come to the realization that seasonal earth and everything can be spiritual as well. It's a
Yes.
different kind of thing.
Yeah, it is. I think it's about being heart-centered and soul-led
Mhm.
and wanting something bigger for yourself,
Oh
really.
yeah,
That's the key.
yeah.
If somebody was sat on the fence about joining either Divine Planning Abundant Profits or our Be Magic Academy that has all our courses,
Looks
what would you
amazing.
say to somebody that was sat there, maybe in the same position that you were, passing it over maybe year after year, and thinking, and then, you came to that moment of going, no, actually, I'm going to make that investment in me. Um, what would you say to someone like that?
Do it. Do it now. Just if you think it's right for you, just do it. It's been life-changing for me. It certainly has. It's not just life-changing for me, it's life-changing for my son. It's changed my dad as well, because my dad was a little hesitant about everything, whereas now he's like, oh yeah, that sounds quite good. That could work. And it's totally flipped, right? Well, that's working. So it's
All
just do
right.
it. Go for it. You won't regret it. But you have to do the work,
You
you
have to
know.
do the work.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I am the
yeah,
first person to say
exactly.
that. It is not greatness by osmosis.
No,
I mean, this
no,
is one of the reasons why I'm so proud of you, because you've shown up, you've, listened to the modules, you've applied, you've tried, you've been walking the talk basically,
mhm.
right? And that's what it's all about.
That's it.
It's
You have
taking
to.
that action. But taking that action doesn't have to be so scary, because it's very scary to take action. But when
Mhm.
you've got like a group like the community in Divine Planning Abundant Profits, which I know has become a favorite of yours,
Oh, love it. Love it.
and you're very loved in that community as well, which is so beautiful to see and so supported. And that's one of the things I love about the community,
Mhm.
because it is so supportive.
Yeah, it is. There's no question. I mean, I'm working with Heidi Joe just now. She's got my box clever. She is I put on looking for a copyright editor. I didn't actually know what I needed. I've written my handout and it's evolved. It started at 5 pages. It's now at 45 pages. I can do it. And it's done on Canva. I can do it, but it's basic. It's there or thereabouts. There's nothing wrong with it, but it needs that oomph. It needs that wow, pizzazz. And that's not my job. I'm not skilled in that. So Heidi Jo, I'm working with her. She's fabulous. I'm loving working with her. And it should be, we've got a graphic editor, graphic designer coming in, and it should be ready soon.
Amazing.
The community there. I can go in and say, oh, like after lambing time, I had the most horrific lambing this year ever. It's across
I
the
think
board
a
in
lot
the
of
UK.
farmers did because the weather was
It
not your
was
friend this year.
that all. I mean, we lost a third of our lambs. We lost
It's
probably
huge.
10% of our sheep, well, more, probably near 20% of our sheep. It was oof. And it hit me hard. I took a long time to get over it. I took a month off. I took the time to sit back and say, I need some time. I need to process this. I need to get over it. I pottered around the farm. I just said, right, I'm having a month off. I did. I sat down one day and I did loads of scheduled posts. So I was still selling. I was still doing everything. I blasted all that out in one day. But I came in the group one day and I was like, I don't know what's wrong. I feel my mojo's gone. I feel blur. I don't know what to do. I can't get back into it. I can't. And I didn't even know what my question was. I didn't even properly have a question, but the support I felt from everybody, you included, Team Hunter as well, everybody in that group was just there. And a couple of people reached out and messaged me privately. And and it was very much, it wasn't sympathy. It was empathy that you get from it. It wasn't sympathy. Oh, you've had a terrible time. It's awful. Oh, how hard is that? It was empathy. It's like, you've got this. You're okay. You know what you're feeling. You need to work through it. And it's sort of like, I'm going on holiday. That'll help. And boy, did that help. Boom.
Yeah, you just needed that distance. You'd
Yeah,
been staring at everything too close for too
yeah,
long,
yeah,
and it was
exactly.
just needing that distance. But
And how,
sometimes you need someone to tell you that, right?
yeah, and how
Even
many
though deep
groups?
down we know it ourselves, but you know, the when we're in that, I don't really know what's wrong, and then the conditioning kind of tells us to keep grinding it out. But
Push, push,
actually, that's
push.
the
Yeah,
opposite of what we need to do. We actually just need to take a pause, take a break,
yeah.
get some distance between ourselves and our work and
Mhm.
things. So yeah, it was really beautiful to see, and
Yeah,
it's one of the reasons why it's one of my biggest achievements,
yeah,
that
definitely.
putting together that group and
Oh,
all of the
definitely.
people that we have attracted
Yeah.
into divine planning, because they are so next level and they are a genuinely supportive group of humans,
Exactly.
which are they
It's
are such next level
and
humans.
what I love, one of the things I really love about it is when you have the new session starts, a new group start, the new sign up starts every year. It's the welcome everybody gets in that group. You put a little post up saying please welcome, and then you get, oh, I'm going to cry. Excuse me, I'm getting all emotional. Um, Everybody jumps in and just says, hello, how are you? And it's just, you're picked up and you're carried into that group by everybody, not just by you, not just by Team Hunter. Leanne's amazing. She's back. Jen that was there was amazing. I love Jen. Everybody just picks you up and takes you into the bosom of the family. And it is like a little family.
Oh,
And
I love
how many business groups do you find that in? You imagine
no.
business groups are
Can
targets.
often be
Yes,
very big and faceless and a little bit soulless sometimes,
exactly. Yeah. It's very
it's all
masculine.
business and no heart.
It's a very
And
gentle place, is what I find. People can come in and say, and $1 million as well, I think. You can say that this has gone wrong. This is what's happened. I've not done this. I've slipped off. Folk, that's okay. You're back. Doesn't matter. It's gone.
oh, I love
There's
that.
no, you're not You're not made to feel less. You're just supported. And that's what I needed. That's what I needed to find. A lot of people are like, oh, go to the Chamber of Commerce up here, go to this, they'll help you, that person will help you. And it just doesn't, I'm not feeling that at all. It's very business speak, business
Yeah,
driven.
and I think also as well, like in situations like that, often the mask is on,
Yeah.
right? Like, we have the sanitized, clean version for life,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
when you go to like these business commerce groups, it's like that. Nobody's like in a hangout. Nobody's like saying, I had a really hard time last week.
Yeah.
No one's saying that. Everyone's like, on their best behavior.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we need that messy part of us as well supported.
Yeah.
That it's okay to have a really hard week last week or whatever it was, or it's okay to I think, most entrepreneurs will know this, that you fall in love and then you fall out of love with your business and you cycle through that throughout
Yes.
the entire time that you will have that business.
That's it.
You will go through those ebbs and those flows with it. But all of that needs to be supported. We can't just support the masked, sanitized for public consumption version.
That's it.
Because there's a whole big part of being in business that then doesn't receive the support it needs.
Exactly. Your soul needs it as well. It's our businesses are our babies, and
They
as I
are. We
say,
pour that heart and soul into
yeah,
them.
and new mothers need support, new parents need support for themselves as well as their baby needs
Oh, I
support.
love that
So
analogy.
yeah,
What a
like just
beautiful place to finish on, Sally. Tell people where they can find you
yeah.
online.
I
So just give a couple of places and we'll make sure we tag them below and we'll definitely pop in that emergency planner for you
oh,
as well.
thank you.
So if you're listening to this or you've got a farmer, share this podcast with them so that they can get these details as well. So take it away, Sally.
Well, my main hangout is Facebook. I love Facebook at the Croft. It's at My Wee Crofty. It's a nice, welcoming little place. You'll see pictures of it's a blog mainly, a little bit of sales with my boxes and stuff, not much. It's just a chit chat about everyday farming. You will get the highs and lows. My website is myweecrofty.com, and on TikTok. I'm on there. I need to do more. I go through fits and spells with TikTok, but it's a little video with me chatting, giving you the crack from the farm, and it's what's happening, generally looking a bit bedraggled or snow covered or covered in poop. So there will be a bit of poop on TikTok.
Keeping it real, keeping it
Yeah,
real.
that's it. And
Oh, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Sally. And we'll make sure we pop all the links below for you. Thank you for joining us.
thank you, Joanna. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed our chat today. I love our chats anytime we have them. They're great. Thank you. And keep being you. Don't change. You're just
Oh,
perfect how you are. The businesses you've done, the communities you support are amazing. So just keep being you.
oh, thank you, Sally.